everyone, thanks for joining me. Today we're going to do something fun, something sparkly, because why not? And we are going to be turning these pretty basic Papermate inkjoy pens into some super cute, super fancy custom pens with some of the new Starcraft glitters and epoxy. So you can get a closer look there. I did a couple here. So I'm going to show you step by step what you need to do to get these pens done, a few tips as to what I use to help make it as easy as possible, and I'm going to show you in sections with different pens so you can see some different colors of the new glitter, and you'll be well on your way to making some super cute, super sparkly pens. So I'm going to flip you down to my workstation so we can get started and I can show you how to start prepping these pens to get started in your process. So our very first step is obviously going to be to get our pens ready. Now these Papermate pens, they do come in black, which I have a few of here, and then you can get some variety packs of colors. You can get these pens anywhere. I personally don't like buying them online right now because they're a little bit hard to find and they're a little bit expensive because everyone's making these, but the colors are fun to use, especially if you're doing something that's close to that color for the pen design. But something to keep in mind, the end part here, unless you paint it and then seal it, is going to stay that color. So if you do a white pen, you might have a black cap. You can paint and seal if you want to. It's a little trickier than just leaving it that color. So I think I'm just going to take apart a couple of the black pens for you. And it's real simple. I just keep all of my pen parts in a bag, all of the pens that I have that are in the works right now. So it's really simple. The first thing you're going to want to do is unscrew the cap on the end. So I'm just going to unscrew that, and everything from the inside is going to kind of fall. So you're going to have your cap, you're going to have your ink, and then you're going to have these two pieces here, which go back together just like this, and this is the clicker part on the top. So all of these things you just want to keep to the side for when we're all done. Put that in here. Take this one apart. Sometimes this clicker doesn't want to come out, so I just take the ink part and push it through there. So we'll set these aside so we can keep them when we put them back together. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to take off the clip part, and you can use a tool for this. They have the clipper tools that will get that flush. I don't have them, so I just take it, just kind of grab it and start to twist. Take it and twist it around just like that, and you can get rid of that, and then you'll see that it's not exactly smooth, so we're going to have to smooth that out. We'll take this one. I've used these pens for a really long time, so half of my pens that I already have my monogram on them. I didn't bother taking them off for anything. Now that that is done, I just file this part down. You can take a torch or heat gun and you can kind of melt that. I just use a nail file. It just seems to be a little easier for me. I personally think with the nail file instead of a big sanding block. I just take my nail file, just give it a quick file until it's flat. So now that piece is gone. Just like this. If you have a lot left on there, you can take a lighter or a small torch and you can melt that part. It helps to get it off a little easier. But I usually don't have any issues just giving it a light sand and finishing it that way. So now that they are ready to go, what I need to do is put them on the dowels. I have These dowel rods I got from Dollar Tree. They're not quite thick enough, so what I do is use a silicone straw topper, which I get from Amazon. They are pretty cheap, and with silicone you know that it's not going to stick. So I only put one in there. So all I do is put the dowel into the silicone straw topper just like that. And you can cut this piece off if you want to. And the side that goes in is the bottom. So this is the top where we just filed everything off, and then this is the bottom. This is the part that goes into the dowel. Just take it and twist until it gets in there, until it's nice and firm onto the dowel rod. So now I have that silicone straw topper here and my pen here, so when I'm working with my epoxy, or if you wanted to do these with UV resin, you can. It's not going to stick to the dowel rod because of the silicone. Just put this back in there. A little twist, push it on. I think this is a pack of 24, and I think it was $6 or something like that. It just helps to keep your ends clean so you don't have a lot of cleaning to do when it's done. Put this one on there. You can use pencils as well. A pencil fits great into the bottom opening of these pens. You don't want to go get dowel rods or you can't find them for some reason. So I just put mine on there. They're pretty stable. And the next step is to spray paint these and get them ready for epoxy. So I'm going to go take these, spray paint them, and I'll come back and we'll do our next step with some epoxy and some glitter, and then we will move on and do some more with decals. So now these two are spray painted and they are ready for epoxy and glitter. I am going to be using two of the new glitters from StarCraft, which are the Banana Daiquiri and Dragon Fruit. Dragon Fruit, I think, might be my new favorite. But the Banana Daiquiri is a really, really pretty yellow. So doing these pens is really similar to the epoxy cups. The steps are pretty much the same. You prep your cup, sand, spray paint, and just like we did here. And then you put a super, super thin layer of epoxy, put some glitter, let it dry, put another coat of epoxy, sand it, decal it, so on and so forth. So it's pretty much the same for these. And it's a real similar process, just a smaller area. So what I'm going to do is I have my epoxy mix here. Make sure when you are using epoxy, you are using the proper PPE. So gloves, a mask, everything like that. I am gloved up and ready to go. I only have a glove on one hand because I'm not going to touch it with this one. So I'm just going to put a really, really small amount on here to start with. Just like that, and I am going to move it all over. This one is going to be the yellow, and I don't want to put too much epoxy or the glitter can kind of set in the epoxy different ways, and you'll have spots that look a little different in your glitter. So I'm just going to spread it on here. I'm going to get the end. I'm just going to make sure not to go into that space there, so try and keep the glitter out of it, less cleanup and work we have to do at the end. So I'm just going to spread that on just like that. Give it a quick spread. And then I am going to sprinkle the yellow glitter. And I'm just going to cover the whole thing. That. This color would be really, really great for some pencils if you're making pencil tumbler or making these look like the pencils. This would be a great yellow to use. So they have good glitter coverage there. Now I'm going to move this one out of the way. The way I put these pens on my turner is I use these foam inserts and I just wrap some rubber bands around them and then just take the dowels and stick them right in there in the rubber bands and then put the foam insert onto my turner. So I'm going to set this over here while I do the other one. Put this glitter back in the jar. Try and keep most of it in the jar if we can. I'm really frugal when it comes to saving my glitter. So I'm going to move this, put the cap back on. If you haven't seen, StarCraft does have 45 new colors of glitter. There are shapes, there's metallics, there's a whole lot of awesome. They are all on the website. You can go check that out. So I'm going to take my epoxy cup here. I'm going to put a little bit more on this one because I'm using that chunky glitter, so I want to make sure that it has a nice hold with the epoxy. Just like before, I'm just going to kind of twist the dowel rod, move it around, get a good epoxy coverage there. Smooth it out. I've noticed with the chunkier style glitters, your pen might get a little thick with building your layers of epoxy over your glitter, so keep that in mind. The pen is going to grow in size just a little bit. So I have that. I'm going to take off my glove here so I don't touch it with, don't touch the epoxy anywhere on my desk. Now, I'm just going to pour this glitter on as well. This one's super pretty. It's iridescent pink, and it kind of gives you that multicolor look when you turn it. I am a big fan of the iridescent glitter colors. Just going to kind of give it a roll in there. Make sure it's covered well. Look how pretty that is. I like this glitter. It is, yeah, it's a hard choice to beat for me. So I'm going to pour this glitter back in, and then what I'm going to do is go put these two pens on my turner, and I'm going to grab a couple that have gone through this stage. So after this, you're going to use whatever your favorite brand of epoxy is, let it dry for however long it needs to, and then you're going to coat it one more time with epoxy. So that way, when we go to decal it, it is nice and smooth. So I am going to take these out to my turner, put epoxy on these, and grab two more that have the epoxy that are ready to be sanded and decaled, and we'll go from there. Now the next step is to get some decals on these pens. These pens, I put my first coat of epoxy and then glitter and then epoxied over them. So these are ready to be sanded down and to get some decals on them. These are also two of the new StarCraft glitters. This one here is called Sea Urchin. Let's see if we can get it to focus a little more. It's kind of a black and purple and kind of a gray mix, black and purple. There's some green in there. Kind of reminded me of an Ursula color. And then this is another one of the chunky iridescent colors. This one is called Iceberg. This one's super, super pretty too. So these are a little bumpy, a little rough, so we're going to sand them down first. And like I said, I like to use a nail file for the pens just because it seems to kind of get in there a little better for me than the sanding blocks. It's a little smaller, a little easier to work with the smaller coverage area. So I'm just going to give this a good sand, try and get it as smooth as I can. So that way my next coat of glitter goes on and the pen is smooth once, or the next coat of epoxy, I'm sorry. So then that is smooth and hopefully will be the last layer. If you put the next layer of epoxy on and it does come out a little bumpy still, you're just going to repeat this step. You're going to sand it down and put one more coat, and then you should be good after that. So we're just going to sand this as much as we can. It's a messy process. You have sanding dust all over. Alright, so that is pretty smooth. We're just going to get this one quick sand. This one's not too bad. This one looks a little bigger because I did have to do 2 coats of glitter to get a good coverage. If you spray painted your base a dark color, you probably wouldn't need to do that, but I did not. I spray painted my base white, so I did need to use 2 coats to cover it, but it still looks super pretty. I'm just going to give this a good sand. You can see where it's uneven, where my nail file isn't hitting. It's pretty smooth. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wipe it down with some rubbing alcohol just to kind of get all of that dust off of there. Now it's going to look kind of cloudy. Woo! Kind of cloudy, and that's okay. Once you put more epoxy on it, it'll be nice and shiny and pretty again. Just gonna, sanding just kind of dulls it a little bit. So we're just gonna wipe this one down. For this one, I'm going to put a name, and then for the black one, I'm actually going to put some holographic mermaid scales on that one. So this I did not use my silicone straw topper for because I didn't actually have them yet. So you can see that this, the way I did this one, I just put some masking tape around the dowel. Sometimes that might get a little stuck in there. You just want to work it out. Just like that. Pull that little piece of tape off. Now we're good to go. So I can stick it back in there. Just like that. Same with this one. Good to go. Wipe off my mat here. Crafting's such a fun, messy process, right? I feel like everything I do is messy. This mat is the new magnetic cutting mat that we carry at 143 Vinyl. It is magnetic, so the ruler sticks to it. This ruler sticks to every part of the mat, and then you have 4 little magnets that come with it to hold down your material. And it is also a self-healing mat, which is why I have it laying over my desk to protect my work surface a little bit. I think it's a great, great thing. So this is going to be for a right-handed person. So I'm going to put the decal at the top. So this is the top. The part that's on the dowel is the bottom part. So I'm going to leave it on there, and I'm going to take my decals, which I already have. I cut them with my Cricut Joy since they are little decals. And I'm going to put them on. We can get these on, and then I can show you how to finish off your pens and reassemble them, and then you can admire their beauty. So I'm just going to put this here, just like that. Move it down a little bit. Burnish that on with my fingers. This is the StarCraft matte black and the StyleTech opal vinyl that I'm using. Stick that on there. so that I have my name on there. And then what I'm going to do for this is I am actually going to individually place all of my mermaid scales on this pen. I think I'm just going to put them in a few groups. I don't want to cover the whole pen. So I am going to use my stab and grab tweezers, and I'm just going to peel individual mermaid scales and stick them on. I thought this was a cute color to do some mermaid scales with. It's kind of oceany. Kind of, like I said, it kind of is an Ursula color to me. It kind of reminds me of Ursula. We're just going to kind of line them up. Just going to keep doing a few spots like that just to give it the mermaid look. Go here. Put a few more in this group. We'll move to the next one. These pens are super popular. They are definitely on trend right now. And they're pretty simple to make. I kind of dove right in to make this video, and I didn't have any issues. So the fun part is you can do these with UV resin. Since it's not a big tumbler, you have less space to cover. You can absolutely do these with UV resin as well. So if you wanted to do that, that's an option. You can use your turner and spin it under the UV light, or you can hold it and turn it. I am using epoxy for mine just because I had several to do, and I did a bunch so I could show you in steps for this video, and it didn't take a week to record. So I'm just going to keep placing these mermaid scales on here, and while I do that, I am going to get the two pens that have decals and their final coat of epoxy ready and show you how I kind of clean them up at the end and reassemble. So for our last step, I have two pens that are done spinning their final coat of epoxy, and they are ready to be put back together. I used two more new colors of the Starcraft glitter. This one is the red, white, and blue mix. It is called Firecracker. Let that focus maybe and you can see it. It is a red, white, and blue mix in some smaller pieces, and I just put a quick cheetah leopard print on there. And then this one is another one of my personal favorites. This one is called Pina Colada. It is a white, chunky iridescent. So we're going to put these back together. Now these just came off my dowels, and you can kind of see there that the end is not very smooth. It's not very clean. So what I'm going to do is clean that up just a little bit. So I'm going to take my nail file again, and I'm just going to file around the top, much like you would do the top rim of your cup as soon as you're done making it. We're just going to give it a little bit of a file. Make sure we can get it nice and smooth up there. The smoother it is, the easier it is for that end piece to go back in. This side's not too bad. That side's pretty clean. This one is pretty clean on that end. We're just going to file this end here. Just like that. If you get too dusty, you can go in with that rubbing alcohol again. The main thing that you want to keep clean is the inside of the bottom where there are the coils to thread your pen cap back into. So you just want to make sure those stay clean. I'm going to wipe this off with some alcohol. So once you have everything kind of sanded and cleaned up just a bit, we are ready to put these back together. So you'll need to make sure you have all of the pieces that we started with. So the red, white, and blue pen, I actually used a blue pen. So I have blue pieces here, and then the white one was a black pen. So I'm just going to grab all of these pieces. We're going to put it back together. The main goal when you're doing this is to keep the threaded inside of this end clean, and that is so your caps go back in easily. If they can't screw in there, they're not going to go in very well, and it's kind of a pain, but we'll get through it. We get through it. So to put them back together, you're going to take these two pieces here and put them together like this. And you're going to take the whiter side and you're going to put the silver part in first. So that is our clicker portion of our pen. So we're going to put that in there. And we're going to push the ink with this spring back in there. And then all we're going to do is twist the end back on. And just like that, you have a fancy customized pen. And the nice part is these pens are refillable. You can get refills for these pens. So if your pen ink runs out, no worries, because you can get some more. So we're going to put this one together. Go in from the whiter side, the silver part first, so it comes out. We're going to put our ink back in and our cap. These have been my favorite pens for so long, and now you can customize them and make them super cute. So just like that. Now, depending on what type of epoxy you're using, it can take, maybe a 2.5, 3 day process to get through this and then to let it cure for the recommended time per your epoxy. I know there are some quick set epoxies out there that can get that done a little faster for you. But just like that, we've made some super fun custom pens and used some new StarCraft glitters, which are super, super mega awesome. If you haven't checked those out, be sure to check those out on the 143 Vinyl website. I will put a link to all of the glitters and any supplies that I used from there in my video description. And as always, hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for watching.